I never thought my life would take me on the path that it has. I'm just an ordinary mom, homemaker, and small business owner. I grew up in a loving family of 6, went off to business school, got married, and had 3 children, Melissa, Haley, and Benjamin. As you can see, they are anything but ordinary, but I'm a little biased. The point is, if you were to see me walking down the street, you wouldn't even look at me twice. I'm an ordinary person. However, the work that I'm fortunate enough to do at Call To Care Uganda is anything but ordinary. It's life-saving, life-altering, life-enhancing, and entirely extraordinary. My name is Martha Wells Hoffman, and I'm the founder of Call To Care Uganda. Our mission is to bring health, safety, and education to the people of Uganda through clean, accessible water. And the way this all started is a crazy story, and it begins with 2 extraordinary experiences. The first occurred when I was just 21 and on my way to work. Suddenly a car came out of nowhere and hit me head on, crumbling my little car. My head was slammed into the steering wheel and my legs were crushed before my car finally came to rest in a smoking heap. The firemen had to use the jaws of life to get me out. They couldn't believe I had survived. Nobody could. And I barely did survive. It took 3 years of difficult surgeries before the doctors were able to put me back together again. Though I was thankful I had survived, I must admit, I couldn't understand why I had been saved. Why me? I kept asking myself. The second extraordinary thing happened, or should I say, kept happening, after my eldest daughter was born and our small family moved to Austin, Texas, where I started my own photography business. I became pretty good, and I even got to photograph the one and only Willie Nelson. It was after my second daughter was born when I had an unusual dream. In it were children, hundreds of children, asking me for help, but they seemed so far away in both time and space that at first I just brushed it off. After all, it was just a dream. But this dream refused to go away. Even after we moved to Connecticut a few years later, and I had my son, the dream followed me and it wouldn't give me any peace. Night after night, these children appeared, pleading for help. And I'd wake up thinking, where are you? What do you want me to do? I'm not sure how I can help you. Between taking care of a toddler and my 2 girls, and constantly having this dream disturb any chance at a good night's sleep, I thought I was actually going mad. Then one night, my grandmother, my Nana, came to me in the dream. We had always been so close. And when I was a little girl, Nana's good friend, who had been a missionary in Africa, gave me a little wallet made out of tree bark. And this is it. In the dream, Nana was there, and she was holding the little bark wallet. She held it toward me as if saying, here's the answer. I jumped out of bed. It's Uganda! The wallet was from Uganda. These children are in Uganda. That's where I needed to be. But I couldn't just upend my life and go to Uganda. I had responsibilities, commitments, children to take care of. And anyway, where would I go? And what would I do? How am I even qualified? Not to mention the whole idea terrified me. The very next day, my daughter came home and was excited to tell me about a singing group who had performed at her school. The group was from Uganda. Then that evening, when I turned on the television, it was tuned to a program about child soldiers in northern Uganda, something I didn't know anything about at the time. And these kinds of bold interruptions to my ordinary life kept coming. Finally, it became so ridiculous that I said, enough already. I get it. I guess I need to go to Uganda. But how? I was able to connect with 2 women I learned about who lived in a nearby town who, oddly enough, were planning a trip to continue their work at an orphanage in, you guessed it, Uganda. I knew in my bones I needed to go with them. So 6 months later, and it's still hard for me to wrap my head around this, I kissed my 3 children goodbye. And I got on a plane with those 2 women. We were headed for the orphanage just east of the capital in Kampala. Friends and family thought I was insane. Heck, I thought I might be insane too. But I had no choice. I was compelled to go. After an 18-hour flight and then a bumpy road trip, we arrived at the orphanage, where we were greeted by nearly 100 children, orphans who had been abandoned and left on the streets to fend for themselves. Though the children looked well-nourished, there were many needs still not being met, and as a mother, I could easily see that. And some of the children were blind, and their sick bay was overwhelmed. There was a school, but it needed supplies, and the children's dormitories needed more sheets and blankets. Martha, I said to myself, this is where you can start. However, it wasn't until I ventured out into the bush that I saw the children who had haunted my dreams. Until then, I thought I understood poverty, but I had no idea. What I saw changed my life forever. Children dressed in nothing but tattered rags and no shoes. People without proper medical care. Schools without books or even desks. Babies dying from dysentery and malaria. Girls unable to go to school because they're walking miles with 40-pound jerry cans on their backs to get water that's not even safe to drink. I was a professional photographer, so I did what was second nature. I took hundreds of pictures I would use to tell the world about this. At night, however, the images haunted me. I was overwhelmed by the enormity of the problem. When I got home, I focused on the things that I could do. First, I gathered some friends together and convinced them to help me. And our small but mighty team did fundraisers to buy shoes and medical supplies that the orphanage told me they needed. We sold Ugandan crafts, and we used the proceeds to buy uniforms for a school. Students here at schools formed Uganda clubs, and together we held a benefit concert to help raise money and raise awareness. We did what we could, and we made mistakes, lots of them, believe me. But we picked ourselves up and we kept on trying. We were committed to helping alleviate suffering. What I couldn't get out of my mind were the girls and women walking for hours and for miles every day to dirty ponds and streams to fill those jerry cans with contaminated water. Girls, robbed of their education, have no chance at improving their lives or contributing to the health and welfare of their community. And women are robbed of the gift of valuable time when they could be using it more joyfully with their families or productively tending their crops or even starting small businesses. Of course, though, the biggest impact is on health, and the economic impact is catastrophic. By the way, have you ever seen contaminated water? My gosh, it is infested with insects, worms, animal feces, and has a whole host of bacteria that causes cholera, dysentery, and typhoid, just to name a few. I very quickly realized that clean water is the springboard for everything: health, education, safety, economic and food security, women's empowerment, everything. When I researched water insecurity, the numbers floored me, and they should floor everyone. The population of Uganda is 47 million, and there are 38 million people in Uganda alone who don't have access to clean, drinkable water. That's 81% of the population. And to give you some idea of the magnitude of this number, it's just about equal to the entire population of the state of California. Think about it, the entire population of California. There are 2 billion people in the world who don't have access to safe drinking water. And 1 million people die each year from preventable waterborne diseases, needlessly and senselessly. About 5,000 children inconceivably die every day from diarrhea they get from unsafe drinking water. That's 3 children every minute. This is not okay. This is not a tragedy. Tragedies are unavoidable. This is wanton neglect on a massive scale, and one that you and I, can help fix. Access to clean water is not a luxury reserved for the few. It is a human right. Soon I became serious about doing something concrete about this problem, and Call To Care Uganda was set up as an official nonprofit. I knew that our fundamental focus would be on drilling wells, as many as we could. Drilling deep borehole wells was a method of providing water to an entire community, and in a way that was easy to care for and would stand the test of time. We connected with a local drilling company, and in 2007, we drilled our first well in Agulamato, a rural village in eastern Uganda. I remember visiting it with some of our team and going down a red clay dirt road. Overgrown reeds and tree branches smashed against the side of the van, and we bounced around before arriving. The road eventually opened up, and before we knew what was happening, children appeared out of nowhere, shouting and waving, running along behind us. Then we saw the village and hundreds who had gathered under a huge mango tree that grew in the center of the community. They had been waiting for hours. The village elders, old women, and young women with toddlers clinging to their legs. As soon as our van appeared, the village became a frenzy of singing, drumming, and dancing. And we could hear the women cheering and calling joyfully, "Mama Martha, Mama Martha." Eventually, things settled down, and the elders ceremoniously led us to the well. There were 2 girls there, grinning from ear to ear. They were pumping the handle of the well as the crystal clear water poured into the waiting jerry can. We all watched it, this water flowing, this miracle, celebrating it for the first time together. I stood motionless. Suddenly, I understood why I had survived that terrible car accident so many years ago. I was allowed to live in order to see this extraordinary moment. Since we began in 2007, the Call To Care Uganda team and I have worked earnestly with our generous partners to drill 85 wells in 85 overlooked communities. We have brought clean, fresh water to over 75,000 people. 75,000 people have had their lives transformed, and countless lives have been saved. The wells are drilled by local drilling specialists, and in each community, we insist the village elect a well sustainability team to care for the well. We monitor the ongoing performance of each well we drill. Our projects are fast, direct, and accountable. It's so important to us that our donors know exactly how their money is being spent. They're provided with video footage, updates, and pictures of the wells that they've helped to drill. Chris Ocholoy leads our team in Uganda that executes our mission flawlessly. We've developed a model that not only works, but it's also sustainable. And this is just the start. We are ready to leverage this model to accelerate the impact that we can have on tens of thousands of people. The impact on these communities is almost immediate. Village elders report not only a dramatic drop in the incidence of sickness and death, but also say that their villages are thriving economically and socially. One young woman named Agnes, while taking care of her growing family, did what she could for her community. However, after the well had been drilled, she had the time to attend classes to become their community health worker. And now she can test and treat for malaria and other medical issues that arise in her village. Oh, and she's also the chair of her well sustainability team. And who are we? To paraphrase Margaret Mead's words, we are a small group of thoughtful, committed citizens who dare to believe that we can change the world. And we're not alone. When Aaron Baumgartel's 6th grade class heard about Call To Care, They never doubted for one moment that they could make a difference.
Maraho Nishkwa Chiburengarina. I was in the Peace Corps in Rwanda, and my focus as a volunteer was on bringing water access to my community. It's really opened my eyes to the water crisis, and I've had a fire burning in me to bring about change and equity ever since. As a 6th grade teacher, I try to teach compassion or helping those in need, even if we don't know them. When I first introduced the water crisis to my students, even before I could get the question out of my mouth, asking if they'd be willing to help, every hand was in the air. And soon after, $9 was scrapped together from lunch money and the bottom of backpacks, starting our fundraising efforts. I've really tried to let my students take the lead, from bake sales to reading children's literature on the water crisis to kindergartners, to making and selling friendship bracelets. Their enthusiasm and hard work continue to blow me away. We have a quote in our class that says, "One person can make a difference, and everyone should try." No matter how big a dream might be, if they lead with compassion, they will find a way.
We need you to be fired up just like those 6th graders and help us fulfill the pledge that we made when Call To Care Uganda attended the United Nations World Water Conference. We committed we would drill 100 new wells in 100 communities across Uganda by 2030. That's clean, safe water for another 100,000 people. We already have the funds to drill 10 of the wells, but we need your help to finish drilling the remaining 90 wells by becoming a member of our online giving community. It's called The Fountain. The word fountain means source or spring, and by becoming a monthly donor, you will be the source, the vital spring that explodes into a fountain of crystal clear water that transforms people's lives. Members of the fountain commit to either $9, $18, or $27 a month towards the mission of transforming the lives of 100,000 people in Uganda. Your donations bring the fountain to life. $9 a month will provide clean, safe water for one person for an entire generation. That's just 30 cents a day. $18 a month will provide water for 2 people, and $27, 3 people. That's clean, safe water for a lifetime. And with this kind of tribe, this kind of movement, we can then keep going and do even more. Let's end this water crisis in Uganda. At the end of the day, most of us are just ordinary human beings. But we are measured not by how ordinary our everyday lives are, but by the number of extraordinary actions that we take. We need to love one another. Love can change the world, and it all starts with water. I truly believe that. Please join us in becoming extraordinary by clicking the link or scanning the QR code that follows to become a part of this community, this movement, this gift of life, the fountain. Asante sana, or thank you very much.